The queen asked, "Who is he?" The princess replied, "The man I promised to marry. My first love him." As the morning sun painted the castle walls with golden light, Princess Elena stood by her window, watching the busy market below. People walked here and there, selling fruits, bread, and flowers. She could hear their happy voices calling out to customers. Elena loved these quiet moments. Soon, she would have to go downstairs for breakfast with her mother, Queen Isabella. The queen always had many questions about Elena's day, her studies, and most importantly, about marriage. At 22 years old, Elena was considered old for a princess to remain unmarried. Many kings from other lands had sent letters asking for her hand in marriage, but Elena had refused them all. Her mother grew more worried each day. Princess Elena called her servant, Maria, from the doorway. "The queen is waiting for you in the dining hall." Elena sighed softly. "Thank you, Maria. I will be there soon." She took one last look at the market below. Somewhere in that crowd of people, she knew he was there, the man who had captured her heart completely. The dining hall was large and grand, with tall windows and beautiful paintings on the walls. Queen Isabella sat at the head of the long table, already eating her breakfast. She looked up when Elena entered. "Good morning, my dear," the queen said with a smile. "You look lovely today." "Good morning, mother," Elena replied, taking her seat beside the queen. They ate in comfortable silence for a few minutes. Elena enjoyed the fresh bread and sweet honey, but she could feel her mother's eyes watching her carefully. "Elena," the queen finally said, "I received another letter yesterday." Elena's heart sank. She knew what was coming. "Prince Marcus from the Northern Kingdom has asked for your hand in marriage. He is young, handsome, and very wealthy. His father rules over vast lands with many gold mines." Elena continued eating, not looking up from her plate. "What did you tell him?" "I told him I would discuss it with you first," Queen Isabella said gently. "But Elena, you cannot refuse every proposal forever. You must marry someone suitable for your position." "I understand my duties, mother," Elena said quietly. "Do you?" the queen asked, her voice becoming more serious. "Then why do you refuse every good man who asks for you? What are you waiting for?" Elena set down her fork. She had been dreading this conversation, but she knew it would come eventually. Her mother deserved to know the truth. "Mother, there is something I must tell you," Elena began, her heart beating fast. Queen Isabella leaned forward, interested. "What is it, my dear?" I have already chosen someone," Elena said softly. The queen's eyes widened in surprise. "What do you mean? Who have you chosen?" Elena took a deep breath. This was the moment she had been preparing for. "There is a man I have come to know, someone I care about deeply." "A man you care about," the queen repeated, confusion clear in her voice. "Who is this man? Why have I not met him?" Elena felt her cheeks grow warm. "You would not approve." "Mother, let me be the judge of that, Queen," Isabella said firmly. "Who is he? What is his name?" "His name is Thomas," Elena said quietly. "Thomas the blacksmith." The silence that followed felt very long. Queen Isabella stared at her daughter with shock and disbelief. "A blacksmith," the queen finally whispered. "Elena, please tell me you are joking." "I'm not joking, mother. I love him." Queen Isabella stood up quickly, her chair scraping against the floor. "Love, Elena? You are a princess. You cannot love a common blacksmith." "Why not?" Elena asked, also standing. "He is kind, honest, and hard-working. He treats me with respect and makes me laugh. He is beneath your station," the queen said, her voice rising. "You are meant to marry a prince or a duke, not a man who works with his hands." Elena felt tears forming in her eyes, but she stood firm. "I do not care about his station. I care about his heart." "How did you even meet this man?" the queen demanded. Elena remembered that day clearly. It was 3 months ago when she had been walking through the market in disguise, wearing simple clothes like a common girl. She had been curious about how normal people lived. "I met him in the market," Elena explained. "I was wearing simple clothes, and he did not know I was a princess. He helped me when some boys were being rude to me, and you continued to see him." the queen asked, horrified. Yes, Elena admitted. I have been visiting him several times each week. He thinks I'm just a merchant's daughter named Ella. Queen Isabella sat back down heavily, putting her head in her hands. Elena, what have you done? I have fallen in love, mother, for the first time in my life. I understand what love truly means. The queen looked up at her daughter. Elena could see the worry and fear in her mother's eyes. Elena, listen to me carefully, the queen said slowly. You are a princess. Your marriage is not just about love, it is about our kingdom's future. When you marry, your husband will help rule our people. A blacksmith cannot do that. Thomas is intelligent and wise, Elena argued. He understands people because he talks to them every day. He knows their problems and their hopes. That does not make him fit to rule, the queen said firmly. Elena walked to the window. Looking out at the market again, she could see the smoke rising from Thomas's forge in the distance. I know you think I am being foolish, Elena said softly, but when I am with him, I feel like myself. Not Princess Elena with all her duties and rules, but just me. Queen Isabella joined her daughter at the window. My dear child, I want you to be happy, but I also want you to be realistic. The life of a princess comes with responsibilities. Elena turned to face her mother. What if I gave up my title? What if I chose love over duty? The queen's face went pale. Elena, you cannot be serious. I am very serious, mother. I would rather be happy as a blacksmith's wife than miserable as a prince's wife. Queen Isabella stared at her daughter for a long moment. Elena could see the battle happening in her mother's mind. I need time to think about this, the queen said finally. This conversation is not over. Elena nodded. I understand, mother. But please remember that I am not a child anymore. I can make my own choices. As Elena left the dining hall, she felt both relieved and worried. She had finally told her mother the truth. Now she could only wait to see what would happen next. The afternoon could not come fast enough. She had promised to meet Thomas at their usual place by the old oak tree near his shop. She needed to see his kind smile and hear his gentle voice. But Elena did not know that Queen Isabella was already making plans of her own. Elena changed from her royal dress into simple brown clothes. She wrapped a plain shawl around her head to hide her face. This was how she always dressed when she went to meet Thomas. To him, she was just Ella, a merchant's daughter. She slipped out of the castle through the kitchen door when the servants were busy. Her heart raced with excitement as she walked toward the old oak tree near Thomas's blacksmith shop. Thomas was already waiting for her. He stood under the tree's shade, tall and strong from years of working with heavy iron. His dark hair was messy from the morning's work, and his shirt was rolled up to his elbows. When he saw her coming, his face lit up with a warm smile. Ella, he called out happily. I was worried you might not come today. Elena's heart jumped at the sound of his voice. I promised I would be here, she said, smiling back at him. Thomas took her hands in his. They were rough and calloused from his work, but they were gentle and warm. You look worried about something, he said, studying her face carefully. Is everything all right? Elena looked into his kind brown eyes. She wanted so badly to tell him the truth about who she really was, but she was afraid. What would he think when he learned she had been lying to him? I am fine, she said softly, just thinking about many things. They walked together toward a small hill behind his shop. This was their special place where they could talk without anyone seeing them. From the top of the hill, they could see the entire village spread out. Below them, tell me about your morning, Thomas said as they sat down on the grass. Did you help your father with his business? Elena had told him that her father was a merchant who traveled to different towns to sell goods. It was easier than explaining the truth. Yes, she said, feeling guilty about the lie. He had many customers today. Thomas nodded. Mine too. I finished making horseshoes for the baker's horse, and I started working on a new sword for one of the castle guards. Elena's heart skipped. A sword for the castle guards, yes, Thomas said proudly. It is a great honor. The captain of the guards heard about my work and asked me to make weapons for his men. He said my swords are the strongest in the kingdom. Elena felt proud of Thomas, but also nervous. If he was making weapons for the castle guards, he might learn about her real identity soon. That is wonderful news, she said, trying to sound normal. Thomas looked at her closely. Ella, there is something I have been wanting to tell you for weeks. Elena's heart began beating very fast. What is it? Thomas took her hands again and looked directly into her eyes. I love you, Ella. I have loved you since the first day we met. Elena felt tears of happiness fill her eyes. Thomas, I know I am just a blacksmith, he continued quickly. I do not have much money or a big house, but I work hard and I would take care of you always. Would you? Would you consider marrying me? Elena's heart felt like it might break. This was what she wanted more than anything in the world, but it was also impossible. How could she marry him when he did not even know who she really was? Thomas, she whispered, I love you too, more than you could ever know. His face filled with joy. Then you will marry me. Before Elena could answer, they heard the sound of horses coming up the hill. Elena turned around and felt her blood turn cold. It was Captain Rodriguez and 4 castle guards, all on horseback. There she is, Captain Rodriguez shouted, pointing at Elena. Thomas jumped to his feet, confused and worried. What is happening? Who are these men? Elena stood up slowly, her heart pounding with fear. She knew her mother had sent them to find her. Captain Rodriguez rode closer. Princess Elena, he said formally. Queen Isabella commands you to return to the castle immediately. Thomas stared at Elena in shock. Princess? What is he talking about? Elena felt tears running down her cheeks. Thomas, I can explain. Princess Elena, Thomas repeated, his voice full of disbelief. You are the princess? I wanted to tell you, Elena said desperately. I tried so many times, but I was afraid. Thomas stepped backward, his face pale. You lied to me, all this time. You lied to me. I did not mean to hurt you, Elena cried. I just wanted to be normal. I wanted you to love me for who I am, not because I am a princess. But who you are is a lie, Thomas said, his voice full of pain. Your name, your family. Everything you told me was false. Captain Rodriguez moved his horse between them. Princess, we must go now. The queen is waiting. Elena looked at Thomas. One more time. His eyes were full of hurt and confusion. Thomas, please understand. I do not understand anything, Thomas said quietly. I do not even know who you really are. The guards surrounded Elena and helped her onto a horse. As they rode away, she looked back and saw Thomas still standing under the oak tree, watching her go. Back at the castle, Queen Isabella was waiting, in her private chambers. When Elena entered, still wearing her simple clothes, the queen's face was very serious. Sit down, Elena, the queen said calmly. Elena sat in a chair across from her mother, her eyes red from crying. I hope you understand now why this foolish romance must end. Queen Isabella said, that young man clearly has feelings for someone who does not exist. He fell in love with a lie. It was not a lie, Elena protested. My feelings were real. Everything I told him about my heart was true, but everything else was false, the queen replied. Elena, you cannot build love on deception. Elena knew her mother was right, but it made her heart hurt even more. I have made a decision, Queen Isabella continued. Tomorrow, Prince Marcus will arrive for a visit. You will meet with him properly and consider his proposal. Seriously, mother, please, this discussion is finished, the queen said firmly. You will not leave the castle again without my permission. Guards will be posted to make sure you obey. Elena felt like a prisoner in her own home. She looked out the window toward the village, wondering what Thomas was thinking and feeling. She did not know that at that very moment, Thomas was walking toward the castle with determination in his eyes. He had something very important to say to the queen. Thomas walked through the castle gates with steady steps. The guards at the entrance knew him because he had made weapons for them. They looked surprised to see him there. Thomas, call guard Peter. What brings you to the castle today, do? You have more swords to deliver. I need to speak with Queen Isabella, Thomas said firmly. The guards looked at each other with worried faces. Common people did not usually ask to speak with the queen directly. That is not possible, Guard Peter said gently. The queen is very busy today. Perhaps you can speak with Captain Rodriguez instead. This is about Princess Elena. Thomas said loudly, the queen will want to hear what I have to say. The guards whispered to each other for a moment. Finally, Guard Peter nodded. Wait here. I will ask if the queen will see you. While Thomas waited, he thought about everything that had happened. His heart was still full of pain from learning the truth about Ella, about Princess Elena. But he also understood why she had hidden her identity from him. After 20 minutes, Guard Peter returned. The queen will see you in the throne room. But Thomas, you must be very respectful. She is not happy about this situation. Thomas followed the guard through long hallways, filled with beautiful paintings and golden decorations. He had never been inside the castle before. Everything looked so expensive and grand. It made him realize how different his world was from Elena's. The throne room was enormous. With tall columns and colorful windows, Queen Isabella sat on her golden throne. Wearing a purple dress and a small crown, she looked powerful and stern. Your Majesty, Thomas said, bowing low as he had seen others do. Thomas the blacksmith, Queen Isabella said coldly. I hear you wish to speak with me about my daughter. Yes, Your Majesty, Thomas replied, staying calm despite his nervousness. Then speak, the Queen commanded. Thomas took a deep breath. Your Majesty, I know that Princess Elena lied to me about who she was. I was angry at first, but I have been thinking all afternoon. Queen Isabella watched him carefully, but said nothing. I understand why she did it, Thomas continued. She wanted someone to love her for herself, not because she is a princess, and I do love her. Your Majesty, I love her courage, her kindness, and her gentle heart. Love is not enough. The Queen said sharply, a princess must marry someone who can help rule the kingdom. You are a good man, Thomas, but you cannot give her the life she needs. With respect, Your Majesty, Thomas said bravely. How do you know what kind of life she needs? Have you asked her what would make her happy? The Queen's eyes flashed with anger. You dare to question me. I am not questioning your wisdom, Thomas said quickly. I am only asking you to consider Princess Elena's feelings. I have seen her smile and laugh when we are together. I have seen her be truly happy. Queen Isabella stood up from her throne. And what would you offer her? A small house near a blacksmith shop? A life of hard work and no luxury? I would offer her love, loyalty, and respect, Thomas answered. Honestly, I would work every day to make her happy. I would protect her with my life. Pretty words, the Queen said, but words do not rule kingdoms. Before Thomas could reply, a servant entered the throne room quickly. Your Majesty. The servant said, bowing, Prince Marcus has arrived early. He is at the castle gates with his royal party. Queen Isabella smiled for the first time. Excellent. Bring him to the guest chambers and tell him we will have dinner tonight. She looked at Thomas. You see, a real prince has come to court my daughter. A man who can offer her everything she deserves. Thomas felt his heart sink, but he did not give up. Your Majesty, may I ask you one question? The Queen sighed. What is it? If you were not a queen, and you could choose anyone in the world to marry, who would you choose? Someone chosen for you, or someone you truly loved? For a moment, Queen Isabella's stern expression softened. Thomas could see something sad in her eyes, as if she was remembering something from long ago. That is not a fair question, she said quietly. Queens do not have the luxury of choosing with their hearts, but daughters do, Thomas said gently. Even princess daughters. Meanwhile, in her tower room, Elena sat by the window feeling hopeless. She could see the royal carriages arriving in the courtyard below. Prince Marcus had come, just as her mother had said he would. A knock came at her door. Princess Elena, called Maria, her servant. The Queen asks you to prepare for dinner. Prince Marcus wishes to meet you. Elena closed her eyes. Tell my mother I will be ready soon. After Maria left, Elena looked at herself in the mirror. In a few hours, she would have to smile and be polite to Prince Marcus. She would have to pretend to be interested in his stories and laugh at his jokes. But all she could think about was Thomas and the hurt in his eyes. When he learned the truth, another knock came at her door. This time it was a castle guard. "Princess," the guard said respectfully, "there is someone here who wishes to speak with you." Elena's heart jumped. "Who is it?" "Thomas the blacksmith, your highness. He came to speak with the queen, but now he asks permission to see you." Elena could hardly believe it. "He is here, in the castle." "Yes, princess. The queen has given permission for him to speak with you for 10 minutes. But she insists that I remain in the room." Elena's hands shook with excitement and nervousness. "Bring him here, please." A few minutes later, Thomas entered her room. He looked so different in the fancy castle surroundings, but his kind eyes were the same. "Princess Elena," he said formally, bowing to her. "Thomas," she whispered, wanting to run to him, but knowing she could not with the guard watching. "I came to apologize." Thomas said, "I was angry because I felt fooled, but I understand now why you could not tell me the truth." Elena felt tears in her eyes. "I wanted to tell you so many times. I hated lying to you, I know." Thomas said softly, "And I want you to know that my feelings have not changed, princess or not. You are still the woman I love." The guard cleared his throat. 2 more minutes. Thomas stepped closer. "Elena, I spoke with your mother. I told her how I feel about you." "What did she say?" Elena asked. Though she could guess, she believes you need someone who can give you a royal life. "But I think you need someone who can give you a happy life." Elena looked into his eyes. "Thomas, even if I wanted to choose you, how could we be together? The kingdom expects me to marry royalty." Thomas smiled sadly. "I do not know the answer to that yet, but I promise you this, I will not give up easily." The guard stepped forward. "Time is finished." As Thomas was led away, he called back to Elena, "Remember, a heart that loves truly does not change easily." Elena watched him go, feeling both hopeful and heartbroken at the same time. In 1 hour, she would have to meet Prince Marcus and pretend to consider marrying him. But now she knew that Thomas still loved her, even knowing who she really was. That gave her strength to face whatever would come next. Elena wore her finest blue dress for dinner. The dress was made of silk and decorated with small pearls. Her hair was arranged perfectly, and she wore her grandmother's diamond necklace. She looked like a true princess, but inside her heart felt heavy. Maria helped her put on her best shoes. "You look beautiful, princess," Maria said kindly. "Prince Marcus will be very impressed." Elena looked at herself in the mirror one last time. "Maria, do you think it is possible to love someone your family does not approve of?" Maria stopped brushing Elena's hair. "Princess, why do you ask such a question?" "I'm just curious," Elena said softly. Maria thought for a moment. "I think love is the most powerful feeling in the world. But sometimes love and duty do not agree with each other." Elena nodded sadly. "That is exactly my problem." A guard knocked on the door. "Princess Elena, the Queen and Prince Marcus are waiting for you in the dining hall." Elena took a deep breath. "I am ready." The dining hall looked magnificent tonight. Hundreds of candles lit the room, and the table was set with the finest plates and glasses. Fresh flowers decorated every corner. Everything was perfect for impressing a royal guest. Queen Isabella stood beside a tall, handsome man with blonde hair and expensive clothes. When Elena entered, both of them turned to look at her. "Elena, my dear," the queen said with a big smile, "please meet Prince Marcus of the Northern Kingdom." Prince Marcus stepped forward and took Elena's hand, kissing it gently. "Princess Elena, your beauty is even greater than the stories I heard." Elena curtsied politely. "Thank you, Prince Marcus. Welcome to our kingdom. Please call me Marcus," the prince said with a charming smile. "I hope we can become good friends very quickly." They sat down for dinner. The servants brought dish after dish of delicious food. There was roasted chicken, fresh fish, sweet fruits, and fine wine. Everything tasted wonderful, but Elena could barely eat. Prince Marcus talked constantly throughout the meal. He told stories about his travels to different countries, his large castle with 50 rooms, and his collection of rare horses. I have 12 horses, Marcus said proudly. Each one costs more than most people earn in a whole year. Would you like to see them tomorrow, Princess Elena? That sounds interesting, Elena replied politely, though she was not really listening. I also have a garden with flowers from around the world. Marcus continued. My gardeners work day and night to keep everything perfect. When we marry, you will have the most beautiful garden in all the kingdoms. Elena nearly choked on her wine. When we marry, Queen Isabella smiled brightly. Marcus and I have been discussing the benefits of uniting our kingdoms. It would be a perfect match, but we have only just met, Elena said, trying to stay calm. Marcus laughed. True, but I can already see that you are intelligent and beautiful. What more do I need to know? Elena felt uncomfortable. Do you not think people should know each other well before they marry? Of course, Marcus said. That is why I plan to stay here for 2 weeks. By the end of that time, I am sure we will be very happy together. After dinner, Queen Isabella suggested that Elena and Marcus walk in the castle garden together. You two young people should get to know each other better, she said with a meaningful look at Elena. Elena had no choice but to agree. She and Marcus walked slowly through the moonlit garden while 2 guards followed at a distance. Your mother told me you have been difficult about marriage proposals, Marcus said directly. Why is that? Elena was surprised by his honesty. I believe marriage should be based on love, not just on duty. Marcus stopped walking and looked at her seriously. Princess Elena, let me be honest with you. I need to marry someone suitable for my position. You need to marry someone suitable for yours. Love can grow between 2 people who respect each other. But what if it does not grow? Elena asked. Then we will live comfortably together and do our duties to our kingdoms, Marcus replied. Many royal marriages work this way. Elena felt sad hearing this. Marcus was not a bad man, but he thought about marriage like a business agreement. He did not understand what real love felt like. Marcus, may I ask you something? Elena said. Of course. Have you ever been truly in love with someone? Marcus considered this question carefully. I have liked several ladies, but love is a luxury that princes cannot always afford. They walked in silence for a few minutes. Elena thought about Thomas and how different he was from Marcus. Thomas talked about feelings and dreams. Marcus talked about horses and castles. Princess Elena, Marcus said finally, I think you are hoping for something that does not exist in royal life. Love stories are for common people who can choose freely. We must be practical. That night, Elena could not sleep. She stood by her window looking out at the village. Somewhere down there, Thomas was probably thinking about her too. She had to admit that Marcus was right about one thing. Royal life was different from common life. But did that mean she had to give up all hope of happiness? Around midnight, Elena heard a soft tapping at her window. She looked out and saw a small stone hit the glass. Someone was throwing stones from the garden below. Elena opened the window carefully and looked down. In the shadows near the garden wall, she could see a figure. Her heart jumped when she realized it was Thomas. He was holding something in his hands and motioning for her to come down. Elena looked around to make sure no guards were watching. Then she quietly slipped out of her room. She crept through the castle hallways and out through the kitchen door. Thomas was waiting for her in the garden, hidden behind some large bushes. Thomas, what are you doing here? Elena whispered. If the guards catch you, they will throw you in prison. Thomas smiled and held up a small wooden box. I made something. For you? I wanted to give it to you before you make your decision about Prince Marcus. Elena took the box with shaking hands. Inside was a beautiful ring made of silver, with a small but perfect blue stone in the center. I made it myself, Thomas said quietly. The stone came from the river near my shop. It is not expensive like a royal ring would be, but it came from my heart. Elena felt tears in her eyes as she looked at the ring. It was the most beautiful thing she had ever seen, not because of its value, but because of the love behind it. Thomas, it is perfect, she whispered. Elena, Thomas said, taking her hands. I know I cannot compete with a prince's wealth, but I can promise you something he cannot. What is that? A love that will never change. no matter what happens. A partner who will know your heart and care about your happiness above everything else. Elena looked into his eyes and knew he was telling the truth. At that moment, she made a decision that would change everything. Elena put the silver ring on her finger and looked at Thomas with determination in her eyes. Thomas, she whispered, I have made my choice. I choose love. I choose you. Thomas's face filled with joy, but also worry. Elena, are you sure? This decision will change your entire life. I am very sure, Elena said firmly. Tomorrow morning, I will tell my mother and Prince Marcus that I cannot marry him. I will tell them the truth about my feelings. Thomas took her hands gently. And what if the queen refuses to accept your choice? Elena smiled bravely. Then I will give up my title and leave the castle. I would rather be happy as a blacksmith's wife than miserable as a princess. They heard footsteps approaching from the castle. Thomas quickly kissed Elena's forehead. Until tomorrow, my love, be strong. He disappeared into the shadows just as a guard came round the corner. Elena pretended she was just taking a walk in the garden. Princess Elena, the guard said respectfully, it is very late. You should return to your room. You are right, Elena replied. I was just getting some fresh air. As Elena walked back to her room, she felt scared but also free. For the first time in her life, she was going to make her own choice about her future. The next morning, Queen Isabella, Prince Marcus, and Elena met for breakfast in the royal dining room. The queen looked happy and excited, while Marcus seemed confident about his marriage proposal. Elena, my dear, the queen began, Marcus has something important to ask you. Prince Marcus stood up and walked round the table to Elena. He got down on one knee and pulled out a large diamond ring. Princess Elena, Marcus said formally, will you do me the honor of becoming my wife? Everyone in the room was silent, waiting for Elena's answer. Queen Isabella smiled expectantly. The servants stopped their work to listen. Elena looked at the expensive diamond ring, then at Marcus's handsome face, then at her mother's hopeful expression. Finally, she spoke. Prince Marcus, Elena said clearly, you are a good and honorable man. Any woman would be lucky to marry you. But I cannot accept your proposal. The queen's face went pale. Elena, what are you saying? I am saying that I cannot marry someone I do not love, Elena replied, standing up. And I am in love with someone else. Prince Marcus got up, slowly, looking confused and embarrassed. Princess Elena, perhaps you need more time to think about this decision. No, Elena said firmly. I have thought about it very carefully. My heart belongs to another man. Queen Isabella stood up angrily. Elena, we discussed this yesterday. I told you that this foolish romance must end. It is not foolish, mother. Elena said with strength in her voice. Love is the most important thing in life. Without love, what is the point of living? The point is duty, the queen shouted. The point is serving your kingdom. Elena walked to the window and looked out at the village below. I can serve the kingdom in other ways, but I cannot serve it by living a lie. Prince Marcus put his ring away and spoke calmly. Queen Isabella, Princess Elena, I think I understand what is happening here. Both women looked at him. Princess Elena is in love with someone else. Marcus continued. As a man who believes in honor, I cannot force a woman to marry me when her heart belongs to another. That would not be right. Queen Isabella stared at him in shock. Prince Marcus, surely you do not support this rebellion? I support honesty, Marcus replied. Your Majesty, may I ask who this other man is? Elena took a deep breath. His name is Thomas. He is the blacksmith. Marcus nodded thoughtfully. I met him yesterday when I visited his shop to look at his work. He made an excellent sword for me. He seems like an honest, hard-working man. But he is a commoner, Queen Isabella protested. So was my grandfather, Marcus said quietly. He was a farmer's son who became a great king because he was wise and kind. Noble blood does not always make noble character. Elena looked at Marcus with surprise and gratitude. She had not expected him to support her choice. Suddenly, there was a commotion outside. Through the window, they could see a crowd gathering in the castle courtyard. Someone was shouting loudly. "What is happening out there?" the queen demanded. A guard ran into the dining room. "Your Majesty, there is a young man in the courtyard demanding to speak with you. He says he has important information about Princess Elena's marriage." Elena's heart jumped. "Is it Thomas?" "Yes, Princess. Thomas the blacksmith. He is causing quite a scene. The people from the village have come to support him." Queen Isabella looked furious. How dare he create a public disturbance? Elena ran to the window and saw Thomas standing in the middle of the courtyard, surrounded by villagers. Baker John was there, and Mary the flower seller, and dozens of other people Elena recognized from her visits to the market. "I must go to him," Elena said, heading for the door. "Elena, wait," the queen called. "You cannot go out there." But Elena was already running through the hallways toward the courtyard. Queen Isabella and Prince Marcus followed her. When Elena appeared at the castle entrance, the crowd cheered. Thomas saw her, and his face lit up with love and determination. "Princess Elena," Thomas called out loudly so everyone could hear, "I have come to ask you a question in front of all these people." Elena walked toward him, her heart beating fast. The villagers made a path for her. Thomas got down on one knee in front of everyone. "Princess Elena, I'm just a simple blacksmith. I cannot offer you riches or a crown, but I can offer you my whole heart. Will you marry me?" The crowd went silent. Everyone looked at Elena, waiting for her answer. Elena looked around at all the faces watching her. She saw her mother standing at the castle entrance with worry and fear in her eyes. She saw Prince Marcus watching with interest and respect. She saw the villagers who had come to support true love. Finally, she looked down at Thomas, whose eyes were full of hope and love. Elena smiled and spoke in a clear, strong voice that everyone could hear. "Thomas, you are the man I promised to marry." "The answer is yes," the crowd erupted in cheers and celebration. Thomas stood up and took Elena in his arms, spinning her round as people threw flowers and clapped their hands. Queen Isabella watched from the castle steps, and for the first time, she saw how truly happy her daughter looked. She realized that Elena had never smiled like that when talking about royal duties or prince proposals. Prince Marcus walked up to the queen. "Your Majesty, look at your daughter's face. That is the face of a woman who has found true love. How can we stand in the way of such happiness?" Queen Isabella sighed deeply. "But what about the kingdom? What about royal traditions? Maybe." Prince Marcus said gently, "It is time for new traditions. Traditions based on love and happiness instead of just duty and politics." The queen looked at Elena and Thomas, surrounded by cheering villagers who clearly loved and supported them both. She made a decision that surprised everyone, including herself. Queen Isabella walked down into the courtyard and spoke loudly enough for all to hear. "Princess Elena, if this man makes you truly happy, then you have my blessing." Elena ran to her mother and hugged her tightly, tears of joy streaming down her face. And so Princess Elena married Thomas the blacksmith in a beautiful ceremony attended by both royalty and common people. They proved that true love can overcome any obstacle, and that happiness is the most royal treasure of all. Elena kept her promise, and they lived happily ever after.